How to be a great host. What does it mean? What does it entail? How do you bring people onto a show like this and make sure that not only they have a good time, but you get the information you need from them? And what are the techniques, tips, and tricks you can use to do that? I'm going to be talking to one of the best hosts on live streaming today, and we're going to be diving into that. Plus, I'll be giving away a free t-shirt for any of you who are tuning in live, so you'll definitely want to check that out. And after this, we will be doing a live learning session on how to bring in your guests via the Zoom communications tool. All this and more on Wirecast Live. Stick around. It's going to be a great show. Welcome to another episode of Wirecast Live. Sorry, that caught me off guard a little bit, but I'm your host, Andrew Haley, and this is another episode of our weekly live show, which we do every Thursday here on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope on all of our channels, which you can find or subscribe at the following locations on both Telestream Wirecast on Facebook, on Wirecast Tube or Wirecast on YouTube, and at Wirecast on Twitter. So all of those are great places. If you want to sign up to be notified for upcoming shows, upcoming guests, as well as latest tips, tricks, and things that we want to share with you, you can find us at our email list. We will send you a notification before every show, and as well as give you the latest information on what's coming up next. So you can find that at telestream.net/WirecastLive, which is just to my left here, and or your right, as you may be watching this video. And let's see, I think that we have been going about a couple weeks now with this email list. So leave us a comment. Let us know if you are subscribed to this. We'd love to know how it's working for you. Is there anything we should retool or change? And are you liking the email notifications? We do try to send them out just before the show goes live every Thursday, 2:30 p.m. Pacific time. So check it out if you get a chance. This is probably your best chance to get a direct link in your inbox, as well as catch past episodes if you missed them and you want to catch up, view them. Okay, we do have a great show for you today, so I definitely want to get started. There's a couple things I need to announce before we do, and the first is you need to enter your pick for your t-shirt. We're giving away a free t-shirt here on the show at the end of the show today, so get your guesses in now. It's a very simple contest that don't get any easier than this. Pick a number from 1 to 100, leave a comment in the comment section. You can do this on YouTube or Facebook. Periscope, they kind of disappear after a little while, so it's a little trickier. If you really want to get in this contest, enter your guess now. Closest number wins. And then private message us on Facebook. We will, with your address and the shirt size you want and which shirt you want, as long as we have it while supplies last, we will send them out. We've already had, I think, 3 lucky winners on the show. They should have all gotten their t-shirts. In fact, we should ask our previous winners to send us a photo. We'd love to see you guys rocking the t-shirts we're sending out. Why are we doing this? Well, first of all, we love you guys, and second of all, we have a lot of t-shirts just sitting around in boxes, and we figured we should start giving them away because they're just going to sit in the closet unless we start handing them out. So hope you guys like that. Enter your guests. I already see some guesses here coming in on the chat here. So I see 47, 77 from Peggy, Joshua Price. This is going to be, I think it's going to be a heated contest, guys. So get in it while you can. All right, that being said, upcoming shows. As far as announcements, you probably want to know who is coming up, and we do have a great lineup for you. We try to get the best guests and live experts in their fields on the show, and we have some really cool ones coming up. But immediately next week, Luria Petrucci from Live Streaming Pros, an amazing person and an amazing expert in the field. She does daily, weekly live shows. She's awesome. I try to follow her work as often as I can, her and David out there, and they are doing an amazing job. So you should check them out, and we will be talking all about the 4 levels of live streaming with Luria. What are those? Well, you'll need to tune in to find out, but basically it's an awesome system to get you started on where you would fall if you're going to start live streaming yourself. So it's a really easy, straightforward system on what to do and what equipment you need depending on which level of live streaming you want to try and go for. And I recommend, like they do, work your way up to level 4. So check that out. It's going to be a great show. That's next week on the 13th. Following that, we're going to be bringing on Marty Mcpadden, another amazing live streamer. You may have seen his work in our sort of community, and I believe he was nominated for one of Streaming Awards. So he's a great guy, and we'll be talking all about remote producing live events with him. So Marty is one of those great guys. He comes from an ESPN background, a broadcast background. He knows what he's doing. And one of his business models today is to actually sit in his office over on the East Coast and be able to remote produce shows like this one. So he'll be talking about the ins and outs of how you can run your whole production business and never have to leave your office. And meanwhile, you'll be producing amazing shows with people that could literally be thousands of miles away. So we'll be diving into that with him. And I'm looking forward to both those shows. So check them out. They should be great. Okay. With that aside, those are our upcoming shows. I think that's all the announcements. We're kind of through trade show season for a while. There'll be more picking up in the fall, and so stay tuned for those if you want to come catch us in person. But other than that, I think we should dive into our topic for today, which is all about how to be a great host, which is something that I constantly am feeling insecure about, or maybe want to learn more about. So I try to bring on people that I admire and I think are doing a really great job in areas that I want to do better at. So it's a little bit selfish in some ways, and hopefully you get the benefit of that. So today, joining us on Skype from his home office, actually, is Jeff Adams from The Jeff Adams Show. Jeff, are you there?
Hey! Hey!
There he is. There he is. So, Jeff, welcome. Thanks for being here, man.
Thanks. Hang on. I've been playing so well. I got to lock something up on my desk real quick.
All right. No problem. No problem.
That's such a good eye candy right there, right? Isn't it? Just notice that.
It is. It is. It's great. So, Jeff, you have a long history in this business, and you've come at it not just from the video side, but also from the broadcasting and radio. I think you even manage some labels, some bands, and you've done a whole bunch of stuff. So you really have seen it all.
I've seen it all.
Yeah, and you've done it all.
Still here to talk about.
So that's why I want to bring you on, because I think we could all benefit from some of your hard-earned experience and your knowledge. And I want to introduce you first to people that may not know you or your work. So can you talk real quick about sort of who you are, what are you doing right now?
Well, I'm glad you asked. My parents met in... maybe it was the 60s?
60s. You know, I don't know if we have to go quite back that far. Maybe let's skip up to 2000.
Something happened, and I don't know what happened. And then I'm here. And I've been in the entertainment industry for quite a long time, like 20 years. I spent a lot of my life. I know I look 20 years old. I know.
You do. You wear it well.
So kind, Andrew. You're so kind. I spent 20 years, and then, I think in 2007, I was having a creative crisis because I was managing these bands. I wasn't able to be creative. So I found live streaming. I started live streaming, doing like a music industry show and just streaming my life on the internet using, Mogulus, which is now Livestream, and Ustream at the time. And I fell in love with it. And then I just kind of morphed it like 5 years ago into the Jeff Adams Show. We did some pretty cool things with that, and then been hired as a online personality for different brands, such as like right now BeLive.tv for BeLive Weekly, and gotten paid to do the Jeff Adams Show, which is fantastic. Hired out for NAB Live to be a broadcaster. So it's been a fun ride. It's been absolutely a hoot.
Yeah, I want to talk to you more about that and what you're doing as far as the BeLive stuff and some of the projects you're working on. So, I mean, clearly if all this just happened in the last 10 years or so, just from live streaming, right now, how many shows a week are you personally doing?
Personally, I think personally I'm doing 2 a week. That's on the pro end. Mm-hmm. And then I started doing this thing from my phone where I kind of do like this creative entrepreneur / relationship thing right from my phone whenever I feel like it. And that's been going pretty well. So I guess I can consider that another one that I do, but I do like those like three times a week or something. Mm-hmm. But the more polished, I prep and whatnot shows twice a week.
Nice.
Yes.
And you're sitting in this studio that you've built at home with the Jeff Adams Show. It looks amazing. Your background's amazing, this sort of mixed media, mixed wood background. How long did it take you to build something like that?
Well, this paneling set's been with me for quite a long time. It's been with me like 4 years. I had a friend built it, so it moves. It's moved in different locations. I don't think it's going to survive another move.
Okay.
If I decide to move, and I wish I could show you. I mean, I'm hooked up to a C920 today because our stuff wasn't playing correctly. But if I did, I could show you some camera angles if I was hooked up to the TriCaster. But I had wood paneling put in the walls. I've got a big setup on the other end when I do the Jeff Adams show. I have people come in, so they have a table. It's kind of like a radio format with microphones, and then I built a nice living room out to the side that's got a lot of pictures of artists and things that I've worked with or artists that I've admired, and that's like a B set that I can use for other live stream stuff as well. So I just catered this. I moved in here in February and I found this home and it's like, hey, I'm just, instead of having a commercial spot, I'm gonna build it my home again. So, and that's what I did, and it's nice. Like right now, you would never know, but I'm sitting in my underwear right now. You would never.
Yeah, that's great.
Ever know.
Now, was there a story you were telling, one of your most embarrassing moments as a host, when I think you spilled coffee on yourself and you stood up in the middle of the camera? Were you telling this story and then someone realized you showed everybody you weren't wearing pants? Literally, you weren't.
Yeah,
really
that happened
right
one time. That did, yes. It was just a glimpse. Luckily, it was I wasn't wearing tidy whities.
So is that one of your tips for being a great host, is work in your underwear whenever possible, unless you're drinking hot coffee?
Well, you got to work in your underwear because when you're under extreme temperatures of lights and things like that, you have to be cool.
Yeah, that's true. Although LEDs have taken us a long way from those days, right?
And when you're watching Netflix in your room, you're in your underwear, it's a very comforting feeling. So I said, why not? Let me just stream in my underwear nonstop.
I think, I can't knock it. In fact, I want to show people real quick, for those of you who may not know, the Jeff Adams Show, I have, let's go to my desktop real quick, and we'll show the website here, which you can find at the Jeff Adams Show TV. So this is Jeff's show. And Jeff, how often a week are you broadcasting these?
Well, that time's wrong on there. It's not live on Thursday. They got to change that. Thanks for the reminder. Pulling my website, so I got to I got to go and fix that. But
no problem.
Jeff Adams Show is actually on tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's really fun. I mean, it's really laid back. We talk a lot about life, relationships, love,
right?
Some entertainment news from time to time if the wind takes us there. But it's fun. We just laugh and about situations. We get a little deep with relationship stuff, and I've noticed over the last several months that's been a very huge topic on Facebook. So we just really have tackled that head on over the last several months. Like I said that already, and it's been fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, and you've got call-in, so people can call in and talk. And do you have a co-host in the studio with you? Do you ever have do you call in remote guests?
I have in the past. I really consolidated my studio down in the past year. I used to have like two New Tech talk shows. When I was in the commercial spot, I used to bring a lot of mobile guests. But for like the Jeff Adams Show, I still do because we had some radio stuff that we were doing, and we're doing it still now. I picked up on 2 internet radio stations, so I do a radio feed. So we kind of do it more like a radio show. So I really like to have the guest in, and then we do the phone calls. Like with Be Live Weekly, we bring in guests through their platform, and I interview them. So that's how I kind of get my remote guest fill in. But like in the studio stuff, I just like having them in the studio because it's just so you can read body language better, and it's fantastic. I mean, I'm in a sucky place in Lakeland, Florida, so I lose a lot of great people to the bigger radio stations because they go to the morning shows. I had Gilbert Godfrey booked one time, and then it always happens, so I just kind of gave up on it. I said, bring in the regular guests, have them come in, and we have a great time, and an hour flies by, and it's just so much fun, and that's the whole point. It's like, how do you be a good broadcaster? You got to have fun, man.
Got to have fun doing it. Well, when I look at your show, and it reminds me a lot of like a Howard Stern-esque show. It's definitely you guys, or a morning call-in show or something, where you guys are just hanging out in the studio, and people can call in. You can chat with them on the phone, and you'll have different segments or questions. What have been some of your most popular, or maybe not necessarily most popular, the ones you've had the most fun doing? What are some of the segments that you really enjoy?
I like it when we have a topic, and what I love about live streaming is because I've always been fascinated with comedy more than anything. But I would never ever be a stand-up comic I just wouldn't do it because it's brutal. I mean, you get up on stage, and could you imagine like getting up on stage, and it's hard to gain people's attention on the internet right now. Can you imagine being live? And well, at least with music, when you play music, you can get on stage, you got music, you're jamming
Right,
out, you're playing
right.
your instrument. But when you're doing stand-up comedy, you go in the room and you literally see the room and people on their devices, and they're already addicted to devices anyway. So, for me, doing live streaming, I get to live out a lot of comedy that I think, because my life is like ongoing comedy, the stuff that happens to me. So I like when we talk about stories on the show, and like for online dating, we did a show on online dating, and I use stories that actually happened to me, and I get to share stories that happened in the past that actually happened, and that's where the comedy happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I love those moments. You feel it in the air, and you take it somewhere, and it connects. And sometimes you do it and it doesn't connect. I mean, that's the beauty of live streaming.
That's
But
true. Sometimes it's working, sometimes it isn't. You have to adjust. So, I mean, and that kind of leads me right into the question of, what does being a great host mean to you? So, if you're going to define, what you're trying to achieve as the host of the Jeff Adams Show, what is it you're trying to achieve as a host? What does it mean to be a great host of the Jeff Adams Show?
Well, I think that's a great question too, and it's a great topic for the program, because I think, with what you're doing and what type of show you're doing, you have to bring, a different element. So like with the Jeff Adams Show, I can really, like, I feel like with the Jeff Adams Show, I can be really myself. I mean, I don't have any structure. I can kind of take, whatever the wind takes, I can go that direction. And and I prep for the show. Don't get me wrong. I do homework, and I find information, but like a show like Be Live Weekly that I do, it's a little bit more structured, and I have everything pinned out towards the guest. I know what I'm going to, ask the guest. I do a lot of research. I can be myself on that show, but with the Jeff Adams Show, I can be, I can go out in left field if I need to. But when you do other shows, I think the format of the shows is really important, because you can't obviously do comedy on a serious a serious show and be a comedian, because no one would take you seriously. So I think that's the beauty about live streaming, and makes you a great host, because you can literally be who you are, but your personality is not going to work for everything. I don't think I could go do a serious show. It's just not in my bones. You know what I mean? I can't. I got to be a goofball. That's what I love. I love being goofy, and for me, serious. But there's other people that do great serious shows, and I can never do that. I just got to be me. And that's what, if you're looking to be a great broadcaster or a live streamer, you just got to be you and find your groove.
So do you find that there's a struggle between a balance between being yourself as a host and the type of host you want to be versus the type of host you think your audience is expecting, or that you might be if you thought you could grow your audience more? So in other words, again, it's that creative balance. Are you making the content for you? Are you making content for your audience? Where do you strike that balance?
I think, it goes back to transparency, and a lot of people can't do it. They really can't talk about their lives, and there's certain things you don't want to talk about. But I've learned the more transparent I am in front of the camera, and just say, hey, this is the crap. This is the crap I struggle with, or this is the stuff I'm going through. It resonates, And I think transparency, if you can do it, people are more accepting of you, and they accept you because, like, hey, he's one of me. And that's the beauty of live streaming, because the power of live streaming, anybody can get on their camera and do this now. And I think to be different, you have to bring something different to the table, which is your unique talents that you bring. And transparency has been the key for me from day one. And I just had a great conversation before I went on here with this gal that came in to see the studio, and we just were having a great conversation. I said, man, I wish we could stream this, because it was like almost like a great interview. Mm-hmm. And I love those moments. And I still don't think I'm 100% there with being completely transparent, because when I'm like at a bar or I'm talking to one of my friends, that's the kind of connection I want to make when I broadcast. I want someone that's watching or listening to feel like they're in the room with us, that can interact and like interject and be part of the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Well, so I want to take a moment to acknowledge our audience at the moment. If you guys do have a question for Jeff or you'd like to ask one, please type them into the Facebook or the YouTube comments, and I'll try to grab them and ask Jeff. And I see a great one here from Randy, and he's wondering, Jeff, is there a formula? And this is something I also struggle with when I'm bringing on people as a host. How many questions should I prepare in advance before a show? Do you have a formula? So like in his example here is, for 1 hour, do you prep 20 questions? Do you prep 10 for an hour's worth of material? Have you found kind of a standard ratio of the amount of questions to the amount of time you have?
Yeah, I think you can never have enough questions, and that's an intimidating thing. I mean, like I'll use an example. Like last Monday, I was supposed to have Kevin Max from DC Talk on. He was in this big Christian band in the 90s. I prepped for 3 days, just researching all his solo records and all this stuff, and he had to cancel. He had to reschedule. So I was like, but you can never have enough information in front of you. But I will say this is you can't. When you're interviewing somebody, you really can't. You can control the conversation, but you really have to make the person that you're interviewing feeling really comfortable. And they've kind of got to shift. They kind of shift the conversation a little bit. You have notes, but you're going to shift over those notes. And you might have someone that you may not connect with and go, God, this is going really bad. And you go, I cannot wait to this. Wait to get over, because there's no connection.
Yeah, that's when you go to the canned questions, like, what did you think of this? Right.
That's when you go with. That's the best, to have 20 to 25, 30 questions, because that will happen. I mean, you're not going to connect with everybody and have a great interview. It just doesn't happen. And you're just like, hey, can we cut the break? Can we cut the break? Oh, there's a bad connection. Wait a minute, I can't hear you.
I'm losing you. Sorry, folks. I think we'll have to have him on another time.
Yeah.
Again, and I have to say that's a really good point, that you need to, sometimes you have to do the prep, and there's never such a thing almost as too much prep. But in the moment, you have to be open to the guests. And this gets back to a great, interview I did with Jenny Q, all about doing great interviews. And I think they're very related. Being a great host is also part of being a great interviewer, especially if you have other people on your show. But of course, being a host could mean you're doing it all by yourself all the time. And you made this great point that being authentic is really key to you as a host, being who you are. What does being authentic mean? Because that's coming from Sean here. He's wondering, what does authentic mean to you? Because he says he gets asked that question all the time. When you're trying to be authentic, I mean, are you sharing too much information? Are you sharing too little? Like, where's your line?
There is a line you don't want to cross, and here's the line I don't cross. I don't ever cross a line when it comes down to my family. If it invades like my kid's personal space, or someone, if I'm in a relationship with somebody, if I'm seeing some gal or whatever, I don't cross space. Not unless I ask them to, because sometimes it's great, conversations like, hey, can I talk about this on the program? And they say no, don't do it. I think there's a fine line, and I think you need to find that balance with yourself. I mean, there's some things I don't necessarily, I don't want to get too vulgar. I mean, my mom's a big supporter of what I do. She watches stuff. She stopped watching the Jeff Adams show because we talk about, racy topics sometimes. Mm-hmm. And but I mean, there's a line, they go, oh, we should get some hoodoo girls in here and stuff. And I'm just like, no, I don't want to do that. It's just not me. I don't want, it's been done before. I don't want to do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there's some lines I don't cross, obviously. But, for transparency, just being yourself, being comfortable in your own skin, and I think I disappoint. I have a hard time doing shows like this where I'm being interviewed, because I feel like I'm boring, because everybody's like, oh, Jeff's gonna go wide for sound.
Right.
Because I put on this thing, but when I hang out, I'm just really laid back, and like people go, hey, will you do my show? I said, you sure about that? I'm really boring,
When I'm not doing my show, I'm boring. Right. That makes. I mean, because it's different. It's different.
I don't get it. I mean, I just like, why the heck do you want to interview me? I mean, it's like, you know what I mean? It's like I don't know. I that's what makes me uncomfortable. I knew I was supposed to do a show. It was like a couple months ago, and I was moving or something came up, but I have a hard time doing when I'm being interviewed. I feel now I'm sweating. My palms are sweating. You're making me nervous, Andrew. You're making me nervous.
You're doing great, man. I wanted to actually, and the reason we wanted you to have on the show is because you do have this really huge wealth of experience doing this. And so, bringing you on, it was just a way to really kind of unpack what it is, what makes you tick, and how you approach stuff. So, and I feel like one of the things that, people, when they watch your stuff, like, You do. You learn a lot about your life. You learn a lot about who Jeff is and what he does and what he thinks is funny. And I mean, was there a point at which you were ever uncomfortable kind of going down that road, or you just kind of realized, no, my content's always better when I'm actually being more real or more honest with what's really happening in my life?
Yeah, I think for me, it was never really an issue because I started off doing music first. So I would write music and I would write about my life. So for me to, just take it into live stream and be creative with it, it just wasn't that big of a deal to me. I mean, a lot of people have a hard time talking about what's going on in their life. But I think the moment when I turned that on, I tuned that in, and I dropped the whole comedy routine of like being a stand-up. Hey, like what's with these people? When I dropped that whole thing, and I added who I was with comedy and real stories, and I was relatable. I think the biggest one I shared when I went through a divorce, like 2 years ago. And when I shared that, I was transparent. The connection, the private messages I got, the emails I got, people on social media like, hey, bro, I'm going through the same thing and I don't know what to do.
Right.
I said, bingo, I found something. I found something. And that's my main goal is like, look, I'm 44 years old. I'm about to die. And, I don't have too
Hopefully
much.
not. Got a ways to go.
Yeah, but I want to finish the race strong, man. And I love helping people more than anything in their lives, and that fulfills me. It's like if I can reach out, like some gal came over, it's like I want to know about live streaming. It's like, sure, come on over. Let me show you let me show you the studio. Let me show you how to do things. She wants to get in production. I was like, great. I love helping people, and I think that bites me in the butt sometimes because I could probably be making a load of money off of it, but I normally just drop information, and I will give credit where credit's due, and Stephen Haywood, for example.
Yep,
I mean,
our friend Steven.
I branded him the name of the Wizard of Broadcast Magic. I gave him that name because of, early on, he was the same type of dude. I mean, I was trying to find my way of streaming, and I was like, oh, he's a guy. He's using Wirecast. Let me contact him. And then we slowly developed a relationship. So he was the same type of dude that just gave a wealth of like knowledge and experiences that he had with things, and I still value his friendship to this day. And he is the number one dude in my book still. Of the production quality that he's doing, hands down, is phenomenal. But yeah, there you go. I went off a rabbit trail.
No, it's a great point. So, sharing information and being real, being honest. And I want to pull it back a little bit into some lessons learned, because you mentioned Steven taught you a lot and you've learned a lot going through this. You've learned, obviously be authentic, be real to your audience. This would be a good question that as your host, you need to consider who your audience is. Who is the audience of the Jeff Adams Show? Like, what would you say is your age range, your target demographic? You obviously don't want 10-year-olds and younger because it's not, always appropriate content for them.
Right.
But who would you consider your primary demographic?
Yeah, it's 18 and up. And I mean, and a lot of the, and I did that when I got the new co-host. I mean, I got a new guy, Ryan, who works in terrestrial radio here and a talk radio at the Bone, and he's 22. So he brings a lot of young insight. So he brings a lot of his young demographic. And then I would say normally looking at the analytics, our big demographics probably between 34 to the 52 demographic of males.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could connect with the females better. Slowly, I'm getting females to connect with the show because I have 2 females in the studio with me. Yeah, it's because it's just like man talk.
Right.
It's like not vulgar, but
right.
It's like you're sitting at a bar having a conversation.
Right. What do you think is one of the biggest lessons you've learned about being either a broadcaster or a host? You said you learned that you kind of had to be more real, but what are some lessons you would share with people that are just starting out or want to become better hosts?
Don't take yourself too seriously. I think a lot of people and know that it takes time to build an audience. I think a lot of people just say, oh, well, man, they've got 25 viewers, man. How come I don't have 25 viewers? You've got to build your audience and connect and consistency. I mean, that's all I can really tell anybody that's a big downfall that holds them back from being all they can be with broadcasting.
They're not consistent. They're not doing it day in or week in, week out.
And the numbers get in their heads,
mm-hmm.
and like, hey, well, I got 3 views, so that's you got 3 people's attention. That's pretty impressive. And people look at numbers and they get discouraged on that. They look at some guy doing 300,000 views, and they're just starting off and like, well, how come I can't do that?
Right.
They get frustrated and they quit. So maybe they shouldn't have been live streaming in the first place. But just don't get discouraged with the numbers. You've got to build an audience. I mean, I'm I'm just hitting the surface now of what I can do with this thing. And I think too is not to spread yourself too thin, because I still stream to different platforms at the same time, but I've really concentrated in the last year on Facebook, and I think it's paid off. I really stay engaged with Facebook. I monitor the chat in Facebook.
Right.
I stream to Periscope, YouTube, and all that stuff, but our biggest numbers are on Facebook because I'm engaged at Facebook and talking with people. So I think the biggest thing you can do is really find something that works for you, whether it be Periscope or YouTube Live or any of those other platforms, your private website. Just stick with one thing and focus on that, and take it from there. That's the biggest. I think everybody tries to do too much at one time. Just like right now. I mean, I've got this nice studio in here, and I'm using a USB 970 webcam.
Yeah, sometimes back to basics, man.
Yeah, so whatever works.
And so how are you trying to grow your audience? It's that you're focusing mostly on Facebook. Are there other things you're doing to actively reach out? You said you're trying to appeal more to the female demographic, just to try to bring on some new perspectives, not just the male perspective on things. What else are you trying to do to grow your audience? What are some practical tips besides being at the right time every time you say you're going to be there, right?
Yes, actually care, give a rip. It's like these people are, taking time out of their day or night to watch what you have to say. And I say that and I take that. So when someone messages me or, sends me a nice email, I acknowledge it. I mean, I cannot tell you, and this too, like Andrew, you've done this show for a while. So when you hear like a positive feedback, I know just like it makes you like feel like a $1,000,000.
Yeah,
I mean,
it makes you feel great.
Yeah, so I had someone that just caught onto the show. He was a garbage man in Virginia. So it was maybe several weeks ago, and he told me, he's like, "Hey, my friend told me about your show, and he's been watching it for a while. I watched it, I love it. I just wanted to reach out." And I said, "Man, awesome!" And I normally read those things on the air if it really touched my soul. But I've been getting a lot of those, and I respond back, or I might get someone that is going through a rough spot, and you can just really listen to them, and just like read through it, and it's like, I'm sorry that you're going through that, and actually give a rip, because these people, I mean, they're what make you, and they like your content, and I'm some of the biggest supporters. Like some of the people that watch this program, I find out that they have shows that I didn't even know existed, and they're probably 100 times better than mine. And I'm like, holy cow, you watch my show? Are you kidding? That's crazy, So I mean, just care, give a rip about people. When you give a rip about people, man, that's when good things happen. When you take the focus off yourself and you really invest in other people, man, that's when the magic happens, man. And that's really a magic formula. When you invest in other people, good things happen, man. And you're not worried about yourself, and because it just stuff happens organically, man. It really does.
Well, Jeff, I think that's a really great note to end on. I think, you've given some good tips on how to just sort of be more in touch with yourself as a host, be more in touch with your show and what you're trying to do, and what's fun and what's going to keep you driving, to do content every day, because you need that why, right? And you're not going to make a good show or be a good host if you don't want to be there and you're not having a good time doing it, right?
Right,
So,
absolutely.
I think those are good points. And then and then the last thing is, give a rip. Care about people who are showing up to watch your show. So on that note, we want to say thanks to everyone who did tune in to watch this show. We hope you got something out of this. And Jeff, I want to thank you for your time, for being here today. Where can folks find out more about you?
You can find me on Twitter at the Jeff Adams. You can find me there, or you can go to Facebook, and there's 1,000 Jeff Adams in the world. So the Jeff Adams Show, you can just type it in. You'll probably see my ugly mug and see the guy with the Yamish beard and the glasses, and it's me. You can hit me up there as well.
Yeah, JeffAdamsShow.tv or the Jeff Adams on Twitter. Jeff, this is great. Thanks for finally coming on the show. We wanted to have you on for a while, and I really had a great time talking to you.
All right, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, man. It's an honor.
Well, keep doing what you're doing. It's great. I'm going to tune in tonight.
All right, thank you, man.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Have a good one.
All right.
All right, guys, so that was Jeff Adams, the one, the only, joining us live from his home in Florida. And as you can see, the guy is just real. He knows what he's talking about. He's done a million shows. He's been through the music industry. He's been through the broadcast, the radio industry, and now he's doing live streaming week on, week off. And he is killing it. I think if you want to watch a guy who's really in touch with himself, with the message he's trying to send to people, and being a kind of very authentic. I think that's just the best word for Jeff. You can see someone who's doing it. He's a great example, and I love his stuff, and I love watching everything he's doing. He's super engaged with his fans, his community, and so hats off to Jeff for everything he's doing there. And hats off to you guys, because you made it all the way to the end of the show, and we're giving away a t-shirt. So let's see who the lucky winner is. I'm going to open the magic envelope. So we write down before the show a number, and the number is 83. And the winner is Randy Lindquist on YouTube. He guessed 81. So we've not had anyone hit it on the nose yet, the exact number we guessed, but Randy within 2. That's really close. So Randy, private message us on Facebook's usually the best way, or Twitter at Wirecast, and we give us your size, your address, where you want us to send it, and which shirt you want. So we will be happy to send that to you. Congratulations to Randy, and everybody else, thanks for playing. We'll be doing another one next week, so you can always win. All right, and that is our show for today. I would like to remind you we're going to be doing a quick learning session after the show, so you can stick around. We won't go off the air. We're just going to roll credits, but then we'll roll right into the learning session about how to bring on live guests, just like we did with Jeff, through Zoom communications. We've done a lot of Skype. I haven't really talked about Zoom. I've mentioned it and promised I would do it, so today I'm fulfilling that promise. We will be doing a live demo on that. And then, again, you can get reminded of our, well, actually, we'll throw up our partners here. AJA, Blackmagic, Magewell, New Blue, Prompter People, PTZ Office, Skype. Wowza, we could not do the show without their technology. So thank you to all of our partners. And don't forget to subscribe if you want to get notified and get a show notification in your inbox right before we send it out live. Go to telestream.net/WirecastLive to sign up. And I think we will also, Jeff brought up a great point, doing some sort of a mail hour, some sort of comments. So maybe it would be fun to do a new segment where if you guys, we'll set up an email address, you guys can email us questions, comments, and we'll, spend a little time answering mail on the show. That could be fun. But of course, you can always comment us and we can answer you right live in the moment as well. Well, that's it for our show today. Thanks so much, everybody. I appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you next week when we're interviewing Luria Petrucci on the 4 levels of live streaming. It's going to be awesome. See you then. Thanks for watching.